All right, thanks, Sean, for having us on the TNL. It's always an honor and privilege to be able to host this and get some great information to you guys today. Today, we've got a variety of topics that we're going to cover. I've got Marcus Murray here with us. He's on his way to Senior Vice President. He's a high producer in the field, as well as growing a massive agency. I've got Gavin here with us today, who's a board member now, and he is growing a massive team, has had a great amount of success here with Family First Life. And I got Dan Gruenberg, who just recently hit Senior Sales Manager, and we've got a variety of ages. So we got 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, and 50-year-olds. So we're just trying to cover all bases here today and get you guys some great information. What I want to start with is each individual on here has their own story. And I want to start with Gavin, because his story is fascinating on how he found Family First Life, what his experience has been, because he's been here since the beginning. So John, if you could share with the group, what it was like from the beginning, what you've seen, how it's evolved, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's crazy. Thanks for having me on, Matt, and thanks for having us on, Sean. I've actually been here from the beginning. I was in a previous life. I was in the mortgage business, and like a lot of other people, you made decent money there. And in 2008, 2009, life changed pretty quickly, and just due to some bad timing, some really bad decisions, I went flat broke. Never worried about money before in my life, and then all of a sudden I had none and had to reinvent myself. I had no clue to what I wanted to do next. I really enjoyed being in that business. I like the customer service side of it, meet with clients, that sort of thing. Tried a lot of different things. I applied at one point, I couldn't find a job. I applied for a milkman at one point and wrote a cover letter that said, "I love dairy." But nobody was hiring, but I answered an ad, and it was actually as an insurance producer. And it was for a captive agency, but I went and got my life insurance, or got my insurance license then. And go figure, during the middle of a recession, a huge recession, insurance was hiring. And Sean says it all the time that we're recession proof, and that was really the only job I can get at the time. I was there for a little bit, and then I went independent with another IMO, and that didn't work out so well because the idea of selling insurance was really appealing to me, and I liked the model of getting paid, simplified issue, helping a lot of clients out. But unfortunately, the other company was not conducive to the agent's profitability. We had to pay for training, we had super low comp, we had to buy books that we weren't going to read, and so after a year, I went in broke, and I left there after a year. Broker than broke. And then so broke that a month before I joined Family First Life, I actually sold my plasma to feed my kids. And that means not a plasma TV. I sold my blood. They took it out, took the good parts, and then shot whatever's left back into me. But that got me through the weekend. And then, then Sean started Family First Life, and didn't know much about it, but I had a lot of blind faith in you and in Sean. And in the first 6 weeks, with one carrier and no leads, I had $17,000 deposited into my account. So that's why I got here. And then I lived in that unbroke stage where I made money, but I wasn't making good money. I was just comfortable that I could, feed myself, feed my kids, pay my bills, and do all that sort of thing. And then I started seeing people build agencies. I was late to the dance a little bit, and then I started building a couple years ago. Found some partners to run with, found some people to hire with. And then this month we'll do about 1.2 million in volume.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. That's great. Good work, John. Marcus, share your story.
Yeah, well, thank you, Matt. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. Thank you, Sean, as well. My story, man, where to begin? I've been licensed for over 7 years now. I got my life license when I was 23 years old, and I was young and excited at that point. And I was sold a dream that I could earn millions of dollars at a previous company. And I stayed on there for 6 years, just selling the dream myself. But I was living a nightmare, right? It was definitely not what I had thought I was going to experience. But I had finally looked around and found Family First Life, right? Just by someone sharing their results on Facebook. And I said, man, I've been here for 6 years, not getting those types of results, and they've only been with Family First Life for a year, right? And I said, man, I got to check this out. And so, sure enough, I decided to come here, and I met with you and Jessica Powers as well. And sure enough, I saw what Family First Life had to offer compared to where I was at, and it was a no-brainer, right? When you compare just the facts of our compensation, our opportunity to go out there and help people with leads, and to really build a multi-million-dollar business, right? This is where you want to be if you have your insurance license, right? When I was at my previous opportunity, we focused mainly on hiring and recruiting, and they didn't teach us much about selling products or doing what's best for the client. It was all about recruit. Right, and so when I came over here, I knew that this was the place that we wanted to plant our flag, and sure enough, we couldn't be happier with where we're at today.
All right, Dan, share your personal story. I know it's a different path for you, certainly. So
Sure.
Pretty awesome.
Yes, thanks, Sean and Matt, for having me on the call. I'm honored. It's pretty cool to be with the people that I watched and who taught me how to be successful here. Different path for me. I guess I was fortunate to have Tiffany, who's been successful in this industry for a while, even before FFL at her other agency. I got to watch how she did it. I get to come to annual conventions and watch Matt speak on stage and John, and it was very motivating. I always wanted to quit, but I never did. I worked for the government for 18 years. I was in management, absolutely miserable for about 15 years of those 18 years. Loved it for 3, hated it for 15. It was miserable. Actually, what happened was we would come up with excuses to get out of the office. And I think it was during March Madness, 6, 7 years ago?
Yeah.
And I was at Buffalo Wild Wings having a work meeting, and I happened to see Matt in there. Matt and I, for those of you who don't know, grew up together, played Little League Baseball together, played high school ball together, played against each other in college football. Knew of Matt. We had kind of lost touch, bought a few cars from you and your family. Kind of lost touch. Run into Matt at Buffalo Wild Wings. I think you were closing an annuity or something there.
Yeah.
Sounds like Matt. Sounds about right.
I said hello to Matt. Told him what I'm doing with life. Told him about Tiffany. Yeah, Tiffany was in life insurance too. So Matt started recruiting Tiffany. Brought Tiffany over to FFL, and again I got to watch her success.
Tiffany's your wife.
Tiffany is my wife, yes.
You kept referring to Tiffany.
Yeah, it's a little confusing sometimes, but yeah. So Tiffany, very proud of what she's done and all that she's passed on to me. Couldn't be here without what she's taught me. But yeah, I finally made the jump in 2018. Quit my job thanks to some guidance from some other FFL agents to Tiffany. Hey, let that man quit his job, is what she was told. And I quit my job. It was a little rough in the beginning. I don't tend to walk into the room without breaking things, physically and mentally. I kind of start claiming territory, I've been told, and it was a little rough for the first year, but I think I've learned from Matt how to walk the line and do everything the right way, and super excited for what the future has come for us.
Absolutely, I appreciate it. One of the things that I've seen Marcus do very well, for those of you out there right now that are selling and hiring at a really high clip, Marcus is a great example for our company in regarding the balance between running that personal production as well as hiring and scaling and growing his agency. So Marcus, I want you to share with everybody your schedule, kind of what it looks like for success, because I think it's important, especially for the new people out there, not having all that white space in their schedule and making sure that they're focused on income producing activities, all those things. So touch on what yours looks like so you can really give different agents examples of what schedule for success would be.
Sure, man. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate talking about this topic specifically. I take a lot of pride in my schedule and my routine, my habits. And so we just got to remember one thing in this business, that it's a temporary sacrifice for a permanent gain. We currently work 6 days a week, so we run the FFL schedule of dialing on Mondays and Thursdays, and then running appointments Tuesday, Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturdays. And so we work 6 days a week. And I was told, hey, you want to build this thing big, you got to be comfortable with working a lot and not worrying about taking time off. And so sure enough, that's the schedule we run. And so what we've done is that on Mondays and Thursdays, my significant other Victoria, she actually helps dial, and so I use that time to hire, right? So I spend all Monday and all Thursday doing my hiring interviews and helping agents with their pre-license and just getting agents trained up, and then we're running appointments the rest of the week, right? So there's no white space in the calendar. What I do even on my run days, like on a Tuesday or Wednesday, I will hire for an hour before I go out in the field and run 7 or 10 appointments. And then if I have any appointments that reschedule or no show, then I'll just pull up my account, my hiring account, and start making hiring dials right then and there. Right, so there's I'm hiring all throughout the week and also training agents at the same time. So we're not taking any time off other than a Sunday, right? And I think that that we've seen a lot of success from that, just because you got to play big numbers with both production but also with hiring. And because we're able to not just use 1 or 2 days a week to do that, we're hiring the whole all six days a week. We're able to just talk to a lot more people. And that way we're constantly plugging more people into pre-license, constantly putting more people into contracting, and now it's becoming a machine that we couldn't stop even if we tried, right? Because now we have agents that are now doing the same thing. They're getting their team growing, and you just see license agent pop out after license agent, and it's just a really cool thing to see. But we know that this is something that it is a lot of work, but it's very rewarding to see the growth. But we just have that mindset of produce to pay the bills, hire to retire, right? And so I think that's something that we can all do a little bit better of. But use your time in between your gaps to also hire and train your other agents and keep the team growing.
Absolutely. In regards to hiring, John, like you said, you're going to be doing 1.2 million. You've had layers of leadership, and one thing we all are aware of here at Family First Life is we do nothing alone. So the team, the strength of the team is everything. In regards to, let's start with cold market, because you had an interesting recent experience with. You had both your staff off at the same time,
yes.
and which had you do some of the stuff that a lot of agents are still doing. A lot of agents are still in the field. They're still doing. So in regards to cold market, initial interviews, all those different areas, what type of advice can you give everyone out there that's trying to grow their agency that way?
Okay. The best advice I can give to anybody trying to build an agency right now is you have to be consistent. If you're not consistent, you're hiring, regardless of whether you're full-time or part-time. If you want to grow, you have to be consistent and just keep continuously plugging people in. The biggest thing I took away when my staff was gone and I jumped back in there to do interviews, we have a great name out there for ourselves, Family First Life, the name itself. I cannot believe how sharp the people were. Because I actually haven't done my own hiring for a little over a year now, and I think the quality of the people that we speak to has changed drastically. We've got so many people out there that you're either out of work that didn't think they're going to be, or not making the money that they were a year ago just due to what's going on out there, and they're just looking for new opportunities. But our name, Family First Life, means so much, and it carries so much weight, because I talked to people that said, I researched you, I saw this online, I've heard so many good things about you, that I was pretty blown away at the quality of the person that was coming on board, and how easy it was to hire, because everyone knows who we are now. We don't have to explain who we are too often anymore. People, if they're coming from the insurance business, they definitely know who we are. But even people who are just looking for the high commission, high compensation jobs, and they do a little bit of research, there's just so much good stuff out there that it makes hiring really, really easy. I put quite a few people into contracting just on day one. I put people in the class, they're getting through class a lot sooner, and then the contracting numbers are just through the roof right now, just because it's just our name. We're becoming a brand name now in the insurance field.
Yeah, I mean, you're well on your way to being 100 agents contracted on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And
I'm not too far off.
Yeah, and Dan, you've been a good example. You were warm market, right? In regards to warm market recruiting, what advice can you give the agents out there that are trying to grow that way? Because obviously that's where the most impact is, because people trust you. So
I think from the very beginning, first of all, what John said, I'll second that with the cold market. It's from what you guys have done up to this point, it's making it extremely easy for folks that want to build an agency. You just have to say Family First Life and you're pretty much hiring them. It's easy now. I remember listening to Tiffanys recruiting calls years ago and it was tough. But anyways, warm market. As you all know, I'm extremely warm market. I'm hot market. I've known that for years, and I'm married to Tiffany, as we already covered. How to hire warm market. From the very beginning, when we hire cold market, I asked them to tap into their warm market. Who do you know that you can share this with? Okay. When I have agents that come on board and they're doing well, I'm encouraging them every day to post their successes on their personal social medias. Just real quick, short videos or quick, couple sentences. Sat with Bob today, helped him with $10,000 in coverage, took the burden away from his family, and in doing so, I'll get paid $800 in 3 days. Sharing those little drips on your friends and family through your social media networks is huge. I've learned from the warm market hires, and I've hired two of my really good friends, Brian and Nick. Brian had a $21,000 month last month. Felt awesome. Congratulations, Brian. That's really cool. Nick, he had a $10,000 month, and he had an $8,700 week first week of this month in issue paid business.
that's great.
So super excited. I get more passionate about the warm market hires because I get to help change my friends' and families' lifestyle. So it's super exciting. Love the warm market hires, and they're easy. I tell every warm market hire, I will not let you fail. Just like you've told Tiffany and I repeatedly, you're going to win here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let you fail. And I think that's important for your warm market hires to know, show them your successes, and then let them know that you can do this too, and I will not let you fail at it. So
No, that's great. That's awesome. Marcus, what can you share with us in regards to social media? You've done a good job of, putting your name out there, whether it's maybe even direct messages or just consistency. You've been a great example of how to put yourself out there. What would you share with the group in regards to, how to really grow your agency through your social media platform?
Absolutely, yeah. So that's a great question. I think that social media can be a huge tool for us, especially when we're sharing our results, right? So it's as simple as just sharing a typical day for us, right? A lot of people aren't used to seeing someone make 5-10 grand in a day, right? And if we can go ahead and share a little snapshot, like, hey, I just sit down with Bob and Mary, they both wanted enough to take care of their final expenses. I spent an hour and a half with them and I made $4 grand, right? Or, I spent 30 minutes with Mary, implemented a little policy to pay for cremation, made $700, right? And that's been huge. And so I love seeing that because there's a lot of people watching, right? There's so many people that are going to view your Instagram stories, your Facebook, and they may not like on it or comment on it, but they're watching. And you can just keep planting seeds, and they're going to eventually inquire, hey man, what are you doing? How'd you just make 40 grand last month, right? Or how's your team doing, $300,000 a month in insurance, right? You've only been here so long, right? I think that's a huge aspect of it. But also I like to highlight and promote the team, right? It's not just sharing our wins, but sharing the team wins. That's what, just like Dan said, that gets me more excited than, if I have a big policy. When I see someone else do a $300,000 annuity, I'm sharing on every page that we can. And eventually people are starting to reach out and saying, man, what are you guys doing? Who's Family First Life? Because at our previous company, we had a very tight knit group, and there was a lot of scarcity. So they would hide the rest of the industry from us and say, oh, we got the best, and we believed it, right? But because someone started sharing on their social media, I started to see that wasn't the truth, and sure, that made me reach out, and that's why I'm here today, right? And so I think we got to do continue to share, just the message of, hey, we're putting our clients first here. We're not selling some dream anymore, right? We're actually, living the lifestyle, and I think the best way to do that is to put yourself out there on social media for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. One of the most important aspects of what we do is obviously contracting the agents, because that shows the activity, action, and the schedule behind any agency that's going to be successful. But there's a huge difference between getting agents contracted and getting agents paid. So, John, you've been a great example of someone that has had good success in regards to how to get agents issue paid. As far as onboarding new agents, what advice could you give people to really get them to get their policies issued and get them in the culture and get them started with FFL?
Okay, small correction though. We've gotten good. We were terrible before.
I didn't say great.
Yeah, we've gotten good. We're not great. We've gotten good, but we were terrible before.
Right.
I mean, I used to think of contracting as the abyss because we were so horrible at it. We'd send so many people in and got nobody out.
Right.
And now we've made a lot of changes. And I can't take credit for any of the changes we've made because one of the things that Sean says all the time is that you got to look at your staff, and there's a good amount of people that should fire their staff, and I was one of them. I had somebody there that was hiring for me, but the results weren't there, but she made me feel good every day. And so every day when it came into the office, she was smiling, nice, happy, and it made me happy. But then, after a certain period of time, there's no results. And so you don't have to hire someone that you like and you get along with. Although I love my staff, they're good at the things I'm not good at. And so when they came on board, we started making a lot of changes, and it started getting those results. And with people actually writing, and we're getting through contracting, writing, and getting paid. And I think one of the things the biggest change we've made is just a lot of touches. I used to think that successful people just find a way to be successful. Well, that means that I didn't hire any successful people because I couldn't get anybody through contracting. And now that we are, and so people just want to be heard. They don't want to feel like they're a number. So we do reach out to them. I personally reach out to them. I do a lot of Zoom training with them. And the biggest thing that we've done is just not complicate this. It's a very, very simple process. It's not always easy. It's sales. We're going to hear the word no a lot. But setting the right expectations up front on what's possible, and then just simplifying everything. I mean, we just set everybody off with Americo. As soon as you get approved by Americo, get leads and get out there. As soon as you get that contract, get on the phone and start making dials. You'll figure things out along the way. But the biggest thing we want to do is get those people paid as fast as possible. The fastest way to do that is instant internet leads. So now we can get leads into your hands in 3 minutes. We can get you on the phone, and Americo has instant approvals. So a combination of those three things right there, we have people getting through contracting and getting paid within a week. And so that's been the biggest change is once people, because they see all these numbers that people putting up, and it almost doesn't seem real. But when it hits their bank account, it is. And I had a new agent on her very first appointment. She made, I think it was like $800 in an hour. And she was telling me, she goes, that's what I made in a week before, and I made that in an hour. So you figure somebody that gets paid like that, the amount varies, but then they know it's real, and then they want to do more of it, and then they buy into it. And then the key is to get them to 25 appointments as quickly as possible, because 25, 30, 35 appointments, that's a full-time agent. And then once you get them paid, get to the higher appointment count, then they can't fail. And I think, like I said, the biggest change was hiring staff that really works, that is doing all the right things, and then just simplifying the whole process to getting them paid.
Absolutely. Dan, you've been a good example. You have staff. You're now, Tiffany's taken on a new role this year as well, and then you guys recognized recently that you're hiring another staff member. So what advice that you can give people when they are hiring staff, what they should be looking for, and how that helps, scale your business in a dramatic fashion?
As far as qualities in the staff member,
Yep.
Much like John said, you want someone that's going to work. I think Tiffany and I, we've gone through staff members like no one's business. We've honestly, if I can be real, avoid hiring family members. We went through that with 2 of them. I love them both to death, but it was just a disaster. It was more of us thinking we were helping them, and what we really needed was for them to help us.
Sure.
You just need someone enthusiastic, someone that buys into what you do, and is a hard worker. One of our staff members, Amy, I can say her name. She's awesome. She's completely bought into Dan and Tiffany, and she'll do anything we ask of her, which is awesome. It's good to have someone like that we could. People always say hire staff members so they can take care of the stuff that you're not good at. Through what Tiffany and I have found in the last year is we're not good at much. We're both good at producing, okay,
Right.
and we're getting better at hiring.
Right.
But having a quality staff member to take care of the things, tie all the loose ends up, it's so important.
Yeah.
I like what John was sharing the story about when his all his staff was on leave or vacation or something, and you had to hire, and you told I think you told me you fired yourself 3 times.
I did fire myself 3 times by noon. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
by
being
noon.
quick to fire, I think, is important. If
Yeah.
it's not working, hey, no hard feelings. I'm not mad at you, but this isn't working. Let them know that up front too. Let them know from the beginning that, hey, this is a 30-day trial period. Basically, if you do something that we don't like, we're going to go find someone else. So enthusiasm, and they have to buy in from the beginning. You have to let them know that, hey, I may call you on a Sunday night at 9 p.m. telling you I need something. Is that okay? And if there's any hesitation, then that's not the one.
Yeah, no question. One of the things that I think is important when I think of my staff personally is, some of our staff members that Sean Ruggiero and I hired have been with us for a decade now, and the beautiful thing about it is because of how they started with us. For example, I use Nicole. She is up at 4 a.m. and working, sending emails off, etc., and she'll work late at night. Ann in our office does a lot of hiring with Emily and whatnot. They'll stay 6 to 7 o'clock, and I don't ask them to do it. But it's because of the culture that's been embedded into our office. It's a culture of giving and producing, and they have plenty of benefits as well. So they do it because they're happy, because they have this job and they're grateful, which is a huge thing when you start to hire, on setting expectations of, hey, this is not necessarily a 8 to 5 scenario, clock in, clock out. There's going to be certain things that you're going to need to do off hours, or there's going to be times where we just need to work longer hours because that's what's just expected of the job. So when you hire that first staff member and you really set that standard, and then you start to hire multiple layers of staff, all of a sudden that bleeds out throughout the entire group, which is a huge difference. So for those of you thinking about that, make sure that you're covering those things with whoever you hire, because then it's not just someone trading hours for dollars. Someone's bought into your agency and then can have those same growth patterns as you grow your agency, and maybe can set some bonuses, incentives, and things like that can make them work those hours because they know they're going to be rewarded for it as well. One of the crucial aspects of this business is having a marketing budget if you're going to be hiring. Recently, Marcus has increased your budget. So if you can share with people, what a good marketing budget might look like, and it evolves, right? It changes, and it really, if you can use your pen as a personal weapon, I think that's the key component to this whole scenario. But if you can share and talk about marketing budget and how important it is to be consistent with that, and aggressive, that'd be awesome.
Can I add one thing real quick to what you've done with your staff? Sorry, Marcus, I'll be brief. Your staff, I'll try. Your staff is phenomenal at helping everyone. You've done a good job in making that culture to where any one of us, like Tiffany or I or Amy, could call Michelle at any hour and say, hey, we got this agent that we can't get through contracting. What can you do to help us? Michelle's like Johnny on the spot. She's ready to just help right away. Right. And that goes for all of them. Nicole, Anna, Amy, Emily, we can call them at any time. And that's the thing I think is important when you're looking for staff members, is if you have someone sitting at a desk and another agent from another agency that may be in the office, ask them for help, and if they willingly help them, that's a keeper.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think I just wanted to throw that out there. I think that's really important, that again, buying in and wanting to help everyone around them is a really key factor that you need in a staff member.
Yeah. And the biggest thing, we'll get to marketing budget, the biggest thing about that is, the great thing is, like, Anna's been a great example, even Nicole with certain operational scenarios of the business, but of training other people to hire, and then all of a sudden those layers of hiring start to explode because we've had someone that's had success. And so when you're hiring, it comes with a lot of layers, and if you start to reverse engineer things a little more and have a 10,000 foot view, you'll realize, okay, well, it's not just this job, right? You're actually looking to develop a leader inside of your group to really explode your agency is what you really want. So that's a great point. So in regards to marketing budget, talk about how important that is, what that looks like. That'd be great.
Perfect. Yeah. So that marketing budget is very important in this business. You can hire off of your warm market, but it's going to be challenging to build $1 million a month business just off of your warm market alone. And so that's the nice thing about what we do is a real business. It's not some pretend thing where we're just talking to friends and family. We can invest and hire people just like a Fortune 500 company, right? And so when I first came here, they said, you need to have a marketing budget. I was like, what do you mean? I didn't know what that was. And I started small. I started where we could at the time, just based upon our cash flow. And as we started to get results from that, we started to increase it. And now we're close to almost $5,000 a month into our marketing budget. And it's exciting because you just get more chances to talk to a lot more people. And as you start to get more results, you're going to look for other avenues other than just Facebook and ZipRecruiter, LinkedIn. There's so many different ways that we can reach out to other agents. And it could be a better time for our industry just because it's thriving as a whole with what's going on with the coronavirus and the economy. So not only to find other struggling agents, right? Because if they're not with Family First Life, they're probably not as padded with their bank account as we are, just because we get paid the most. And it's really easy talking to somebody and just sharing with them what we're doing here, what the possibilities are, and a lot of times it's a no-brainer for them to come on over, right? Especially if they already have their license and industry experience, they're probably not getting paid as much as we are, right? And they don't have the same training platform. So I think that everybody needs to have a marketing budget, and you got to think about it this way. Your team's going to do what you're going to do for the most part. If you don't have a hiring budget or a marketing budget, don't expect your team to do it either, right? But if you're saying, hey, I'm throwing down $5,000 a month into this because I want to get to $1 million a month, right? That's going to inspire them to do the same thing. And then pretty soon we're all running at the same speed, hiring at the same speed, and we're exploding together.
Absolutely. No, that's great. Go ahead. Actually, I'm going to ask you, John. I'm going to ask you marketing strategies. So if you want to kind of dovetail into whatever you have to say about marketing budget, and then understand the different strategies out there, whether just an overview of everything that you do or everything that your staff does to scale the business, that'd be great.
Yeah. Just want to add on just one thing on top of what Marcus was talking about. When marketing budget should be looked at in the same way that your lead budget is. The more you put in, the more you're going to get out. And it's okay to be uncomfortable. Like Marcus was saying that he's increased his volume quite a bit lately. But a little while ago, if you'd have told him to put $5,000 into marketing, it's like that's going to hurt, And it's okay to hurt because we do make a lot of money here at Family First Life, and there's a lot of people that are watching their bank accounts grow because it's cool to watch that number get to a point it's never been before. But that money in your bank account does nothing for you. It's not going to grow. So if you're to put less into your bank account, more into your business, to where it actually hurts each month, you don't have to do that forever. And then you grow exponentially the more you put in the earlier on. As far as marketing strategies goes, I think that the way the company's growing right now is so fast that just about everything works. And if you're not growing with the pace of the company, then there's something that you're not doing correctly because everybody's growing. Everyone's growing at an astronomical number right now, and if you're falling behind, then you got to make some changes. But as far as the marketing strategy goes, we've changed our a few things here and there, and I think that you've got to look at your numbers in just about any part of this business, sort of like your check engine light. If the check engine light goes on, you go take your car and see what's going on with it. If your numbers aren't keeping pace with everybody and you're putting the money into it, first of all, you got to put the money into it. If you're not putting the money into it, that's the problem. So, but if you are putting the money into it and not getting the results, then you got to take a look and see, what's not working and why. We're pretty heavy with Zip. That's worked out really well for us. We still even do Craigslist ads because we pick up here and there. We use a company that sets up we're trying to utilize our time the best we can. So we have a company that actually presets interviews for us. So Kelly doesn't have to pre-screen people. The company knows that they're, the people they set up know that it's 100% commission insurance sales positions. So those are all pre-screened. We just added in some social media marketing as well too. So, I think the thing is that you have to, you look at the people who are growing the fastest. Look at, Alondra, look at Dave Witchard, look at some of the other people. And what are they doing? How are they advertising? And emulate that. Maybe you don't have that type of marketing budget now, but put what you can into it, into the avenues that they are too, and then start growing. And then as your income goes up, put more into the business. Because, when I started growing, I started making pretty decent money. I watched my bank account grow, and I do remember Sean saying that's stupid. Money in your bank account doesn't help you grow, and so we're always looking for it. Now I'll spend whatever it takes to hire now. I mean, the money that we're putting in, we put a sizable chunk in now, but we're getting the results. And so one of the things that Marcus is saying is now that we're putting more into marketing and we're growing, our agents are doing the same thing too. And we have such a high comp that part of that comp allows you to put more money into the business rather than just watch your bank account grow.
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest areas that I could share with everybody is when you have operating expenses, it allows you to not have choices. And when you give yourself no choices, that is how you scale your business tenfold. The biggest problem when we're independent is we have the choice. We have the choice not to work, etc. But when you start to take on overhead with staff, office, and a marketing budget outside of your own personal bills, that's the best way to get great at this business because it doesn't allow you the choice not to be great. So the biggest problem is when you try to hold on to what you already have, that's all you're going to have. We talked about that yesterday, Dan. But when you start to let go of things and really start to get uncomfortable, then all of a sudden, how do you get better in the field? Hire an admin. What? What do you mean? Because you're no longer responsible for yourself, right? How do you get better? I'm not ready to mentor agents, or I'm not ready to hire one, and he'll have to get better. And guess what? That will help. It will help you get better in the field too, because now you have a layer of accountability. The biggest problem is when you stay small and tiny, you're never going to get to where you want to be in this business. So that's huge. Dan, you've been a great example of someone that can set a massive amount of appointments in a shorter period of time. You're great on the phone. So let's shift this small segment to phone and in-home. So in regards to the phone, if you can cover kind of the important aspects of it and maybe a couple objections that you get that everybody else faces on a general basis, because there are only about 4 or 5 objections that everybody gets, that'd be awesome, because it's 80% of the business is phone, 50% is in-home, and 5% is product knowledge. So let's talk about the phone for a minute.
Yeah, phones are fun. I listened to Matt say for years that it's funny when new agents tell me I'm good on the phones, and Matt would just chuckle. And what he's found out is everyone is no good on the phones. Okay. So first thing with phoning, I know it's kind of taking a sidestep, but you have to buy leads. Okay. If you don't have enough leads, you're not going to be good on the phones, right? So first step to being good on the phones is having enough lead inventory. Okay. After that is getting to know the script. The script should just flow. Find one script. My advice to everyone is find one script and use it for every lead. You just change the intro. Okay. Nothing ever good happens on the phones. I think I've heard Sean Mike say that repeatedly and other trainers. Don't quote on the phone. I don't believe in pre-qualifying on the phone. The whole purpose of the phone call is to get to the appointment. Okay, a good set, the person on the other end says yes 4 times and it lasts 52 seconds. Then you're going, that's going to be a good appointment. Those are the ones we want. It's putting the numbers in your favor. Don't worry about all the others that tell you to pound sand or say colorful other words at you. It's funny when I watch new agents crunkle up or smash up leads and throw them across the office. It's just stupid. Get over it. Find the most important lead is the next one. Okay, it doesn't matter if you set this one or if they tell you to F off. Okay, the next one is the most important lead. Get over it. Get over yourself. You're being emotional, and it's you. It's no one else's problem. The leads don't suck. You suck.
For sure. No. One of the things that everybody struggles with is not sets necessarily, because you better be great at setting the appointments, but sits. In regards to tying down those appointments, what do you have, to say about that? How do you tie down and make sure they show?
A lot of what I do is through humor. My tie down's humorous. Learned it from Zach Lawfuls. Tiffany hates it, by the way. After I set the appointment, I have him write down my name. I write down the time, and then I've finished every appointment with, hey, I do drive a big red Dodge pickup truck, so when you see me pulling up, just put the shotgun back behind the door. It's just me. They laugh. It's cheesy. That has backfired on me a couple times. I've had shotguns come out in the middle of appointments.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, just so they can let me know that they did have a shotgun. And
they want to show you their tools, huh?
But yeah, tie downs are important. A lot of times you see agents will set an appointment and they won't do a tie down. And then they complain the next week about, I booked 14 appointments and only sat with 3. Well, how are you tying them down? Yeah. Ask them if they're good at keeping appointments. Ask them, is there any reason why you won't be there tomorrow at 2? Yeah. If you set the appointment, you need to repeat it to them at least 3 times and then have them write it down, write your name down. And above all, when it comes to sitting with a set appointment, I think Jessica Powers was just on live Facebook yesterday talking about if you're running on run day and you have phone numbers you don't recognize, don't answer them. You're going to go no matter what. If they're calling to cancel, it doesn't matter. If they send you a text, you still go. As far as phoning, though, I think objections are pretty important to cover, maybe just a couple. Sure. I use the acronym AIM, acknowledge, ignore, move around. Any objection is the same objection to me. I'm going to acknowledge it with, hey, that's great. It's always, hey, that's great. That's just what I say. I'm going to ignore it because I'm not going to give it any weight. As soon as I give it value, it becomes valuable, and then the appointment's probably not going to get set. So acknowledge, ignore it, and move around. Move around as you go right back into script where you left off. Absolutely. So they can tell me, is this going to cost me anything? Great, thanks for asking. Hey, we're going to go over all that tomorrow. I'm going to be out there tomorrow. I have a 1 or a 3 o'clock. Which works best for you? See, I never stopped talking. It's funny, when I first started phoning, I had to be like laser focused and 0 distractions. Mm-hmm. Now I could probably phone while I'm running an appointment. I don't know. I could phone driving. It's repetition. Every phone is every call is batting practice. It's 10,000 swings for a Major League Baseball player to get good every year. For a life insurance agent, I don't know if it's 10,000 calls, but every call makes you a little bit better.
No doubt. Yeah, that's the biggest thing is people don't prepare enough. To get onto the phone, and then they wing it, and winging it is never a good strategy because you wonder why you're not having success on the phone. You're not prepared, and we see that on live dials and Zoom all the time. Our agents coming into the office, it just shows the lack of really wanting it. And people want to know how to make 6 figures in this job. They want to know how to, really have a difference in lifestyle, but they never put the work behind it. They never do anything, the hours behind that as well. So let's shift gears to some in-home tips, Marcus. You're doing 40 grand a month on a regular basis. So if you can share some aspects in the home, maybe your top 3 points in the home that you believe can get a sale for these agents out there, what will those be?
Absolutely, yeah, in-home. So where to begin? I'd say that one of the biggest things I've learned in my first year here with Family First Life is that you have to set the structure every time, right? Even if it's in, a home that you may not think you're going to get a sale in, if you don't set the structure, then you may get all the way through the presentation there, and then when it comes time to, get them approved, they say, whoa, I just want to close. Right, that doesn't generally happen if you set the structure by saying, hey, we're going to start by educating you today and making sure you know all of your options. What that does is it lowers their sales resistance because they're not, worried I'm going to confuse them with term or whole life or universal life. I'm on their side. And I say, there's ads all day long on TV. It can be very confusing and misleading. And generally, as I'm saying that, they're like shaking their head, yeah. So I think that makes them feel like I'm on their side. Say the second thing we're going to do is make sure we find a plan that's sustainable and affordable. I'm not a salesperson. I'm here to find whatever makes the most sense in your budget. So I'm not going to twist your arm into doing something that wouldn't make sense long term. And lastly, we're going to make sure you're approved. We're a broker. We deal with 15 A-rated carriers. The nice part about that is we deal in volume, so we have some of the cheapest rates in the industry, and we also only work with A-rated carriers. So that structure right there, if you just say that every single time, the appointment's going to flow, pretty effortlessly, right? They're not confused at the end. And a lot of it's subliminal or subconscious, I guess you could say, and it just makes them feel a bit better. I'd say that's one huge thing. Making sure that you're likable and trustable. You got to find something that's relatable. I like to talk about, family, sports, outdoor activities, fishing, hunting, things like that. And here in Oregon, it's pretty easy to find a family that has one of those aspects in common. And then just at the end, challenging people. You're a doctor, they're your patient, right? You want to be friendly, but you don't want to be the friend, is what we say a lot. And so you got to get good at challenging people. If they're paying $300 a month for cable, but they don't want to save $100 a month to protect Mary, right? Then you got to let them know that, like, well, hey, you're paying this here, but you're not willing to make this change to protect your wife of 35 years, right? So I'd say that's a big aspect of things. And just assume the sale, right? Everybody is just waiting for you to come by and pick up a voided check while they're watching The Price is Right. And they just want you to, treat them fairly. And that's my mindset, is that every home I see they're going to say yes, right? And occasionally, we meet somebody that just doesn't make sense, but it's pretty low. I think a lot of people here run an 80-90% closing ratio on their in-homes, as long as they're taking those steps, setting the structures, and just dancing with them when it comes to objections.
Absolutely. No, that's great. So in our final segment here, I'm going to ask some questions to each of you. I'm going to start with you, John, especially for how long you've been here.
The old guy in the room.
Something like that. I don't even know. So, knowing what you know now, right, and knowing how different this company has changed in the best ways, what would you change, knowing what you know now, if you were starting right now today?
Everything. I mean, in all honesty, everything. The living in the unbroke level is not healthy for anybody. Being able to just pay your bills and take a vacation and save up for it. There's no need in this business and with this company. I didn't start hiring for several years. I had such a bad taste in my mouth from the previous IMO that I didn't want to bring anybody on until I proved this to myself. Well, we don't have to do that now. We've got a system that there's thousands and thousands of people that are becoming successful. So the prove it stage is gone. So I would, if I had to change anything, I would have been hiring from day one, and I would have been running my butt off from day one too. And the people that did that are people like yourself, people like Dave Witcher, people like Grady, and their business are just so far more advanced than where I'm at. We're catching up, we're doing a great job, and I'm trying to implement that to my agents. But if I was to change anything, it would have been, don't wait around, just dive in, run more appointments from the beginning, and hire from the beginning, because the more you put in every aspect, the more you're going to get out. And when I say get out, you're just helping a lot more people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Dan, the first 90 days is so crucial for agents, in my opinion. Are there always exceptions to the rule? Of course, some outliers that, you could be a year into this business, all of a sudden pick traction and do very well. But I think a lot of times, winners win early and they adopt certain things. So what advice could you give any agent out there that wants to start fast as far as sales and hiring for their first 90 days?
Go to work.
There you go.
It's easy.
It sounds so simple. It is. You got to be the hardest working person in your office, the hardest working person in your agency, the hardest working person in your town. Matt once told me, if you can't dominate your own city, you're not going to be very good at this. Okay, you got to go to work. You got to work harder than everyone else. It's a pretty simple formula.
Yeah, and the biggest thing too, I think a lot of people need to understand, is when you're measuring yourself, which is important to do in business. You can't measure yourself inside your own small agency. Like, you can't measure yourself against even our agency or whatnot. And what you should be doing is looking at being the best in the country.
Yeah.
That's the measuring stick.
I think you said it a little bit ago, and John touched on it a little bit. When you start building cash in your bank account, because you're going to in the first 90 days if you're doing it right, you're going to have more money in your bank account than you ever have. If you admire it, get used to it, because that's all you're ever going to admire is that small amount.
Right.
Okay, you need to spend it. Throw it back in the business. You were broke when you came here. Be broke for 90 days. Be broke for 6 months. And you're going to pick your head up. Give a year of your life. Give up a year of your life for the rest of your life. Put your head down, go to work, and you're gonna look back a year from now and just kind of laugh at the success you've had and be grateful to everyone that's paved the way. So
No question. Marcus, what do you think the biggest lesson that you've learned in the last 12 months? Because you started out pretty fast on your own pen. I think you did 37 grand your first month, the first full month or whatnot.
Right.
But in the last 12 months, things evolved and your agency's picked up. Your agency's really exploding, and I think your focus has changed, which is always a good thing to change strategies, focus, etc. So, what would you share the biggest lesson in the last 12 months for everybody?
My biggest lesson is this opportunity really is as big as we were making it out to be, right? I try to adopt the mindset of World Series attitude. I'm not a huge baseball guy, but I take that to this seriously, and that's where I'm comfortable getting up at 5 a.m. every day and just diving even harder. But I'd say the biggest lesson I've learned is to just not be afraid to really invest in your business. We've all said it here today. It feels great to have 75 grand, 100 grand in the bank account, but it's not going to propel you forward, right? And so when we're all racing for $1 million like this, then we want to put everything back into it. And so I like we all said, we're looking at that money grow in the bank account, felt good about it, but at the same time I was being challenged to reinvest in the business, and I was kind of doing it with trying to do it a little bit slower. And now I'm finally taking everybody's advice and putting it all back into there and increasing the lead budget, the marketing budget. And so I'd say is just my biggest lesson is to listen earlier about what other people are doing that have already been there or that are on their way there or are there, and to just understand that we're running together, right? So I'd say that's the biggest lesson I've learned this year.
No, that's huge. I know one thing is your goals don't care about your feelings in this business. Mm-hmm. And that is the biggest area I see people get, confused about is how they feel. And the more that you can take out how you feel, the better you are. And I think when you do that and you know really what your why is, I think that changes everything for us. So I want to spend our final minutes here just on knowing your why you're doing this, and it's different for each of you, and that's okay. I think sometimes we hear it so much that the why gets a little cheesy in my opinion, but at the end of the day, cheesy or not, it's the core of what you do, and really your why ends up being the standards that you have in the business, and your standards are what are going to drive you being great, good, average, etc. So I'll just come back across to you, Marcus. Quickly, what is your why, and how do you utilize it in business?
Yeah, the why is everything. If you know your why, you can bear almost any how. I think there's a quote, right? And so when the times get tough, which they will, then you need to make sure that you're doing this for a reason, because when the chargebacks happen and people quit on you, it will definitely get tough. But I'm doing this for my family, and I have a large list. I want to be the first multimillionaire in my family and change my family's last name forever. That's my why.
I love that. How about John? How about your why?
Your why can actually change over time. So my why to begin with was to stabilize and never have to sell my blood to feed my kids again. But now that we're past that, my why is to try and help as many people as you can, because when you have an insurance license, you can impact so many lives in so many different ways. You can, help family members in need. You can give back to charities at a clip that you never thought imaginable, and then you can help agents eliminate that financial stress they've been living with their whole lives. And when you start doing all of that, you realize what a major impact you can have on others. And that's what my why is now. I really want to help as many people as I possibly can.
Absolutely. Dan?
that's good. My why would have to be, right now, John is completely right. It changes. My why is my daughters. I wasn't going to do that in this one. But anyways, sorry, I'm a pretty emotional guy. My why right now is I want Tiffany and I to be at a spot in 2 years when our twins graduate. I want to be able to go, anyways, I want to be able to go to every one of their softball games. That's my why. I was sharing that with Matt the other day, and that's important to me right now. My why is my why. It may sound cheesy to everyone else, but I want to be in a comfortable spot. I want our agency to be in a position to where, you know, we can take a day or two out of the field and go and watch some softball and enjoy the reason why we got into this business in the first place, and that was to change our lifestyle, change our outlook, generational wealth for our family. So my why definitely is my kids.
I love it. I love it. So, hey, at the end of the day, you know, everybody's doing this for a new reason. I agree with John as far as how the why definitely changes and evolves, and you don't know what you don't know. I can only hope that your why will change, because that means you're having success in this business. And, you know, helping everybody get to a new level is what this is all about. This is what Family First Life standards are. And we're just happy to be able to deliver to all of you a great podcast here. I hope you enjoyed it. I really appreciate you guys spending the time with us. And I hope you have a massive week. We'll talk to you guys later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.